See, that's why I actually believe that like psychics and mediums have an ability to read that energy. That's what like the life is imprinted on us, and like our emotions and our people and our past are all kind of energetically entwined in us. And certain people have a way to like read that and intuit that. And I think that's what part of intuition is about reading the energy that the like doing that without the meter, like doing that as a person, a personal, like being a person version of that. That's what
Well,
I'm trying
the
to do as a
meter is a
muse.
proxy, right? The
Interpretation.
meter is just
Right.
measuring the body. So that
Right.
energy affects the body, and as intuitives, we can read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
All
trying to do is
information.
become one of those machines just like for my clients
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's what I do.
Welcome to the podcast that guides men to demystify and develop their intuition. I'm your host, Doug Bites. Let's dig into the science and expand your horizons. Well, Rich, since you're the new guy, I'm going to put you on the spot. 2 minutes. Tell us who you are, where you are, what you do. Quick, brief one.
Hey, all. My name's Rich Baker. I'm in Los Angeles, California, not too far around away from Stephen Brown there. And I met Doug through him, and I was just on the podcast that dropped yesterday, I think. And I run an improv school called Dare to Fail Improv. It's an online improv school. And other than that, I act and gig and do other stuff around LA.
Thank you. That was a very good, brief, straight to the point summary. Thank you. Thank you.
So that's
Very
not your real view out your back window.
No. It's, if I take it down, you just see a green screen. So I
No,
put
it looks
them in
great.
focus
I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Doesn't Los
Yeah,
Angeles
yeah.
look like that?
all the time, covered in snow, just like Calgary. We're basically sisters.
Yeah. Sister cities. Yeah.
Well,
There we go.
Can you
Let's
hear
try
me
that.
now? Ah,
Hey,
you can?
Much better.
Yeah,
Okay, no.
perfect.
And
Hey,
hey,
turn it off and on again.
exactly. Said the
I
rocket
had to
scientist.
work for years in tech to
Yeah.
be given that secret knowledge.
Yeah.
Someone did a study on that once, and they found fully 50% of technical stuff can be fixed that way.
Yep. Off
Wow.
and back on. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that works in the physical body too. Like you've got to do different resets with doing different things, and it can help a lot. So yeah.
Well, that
That's
sounds
true.
like the topic.
Yeah. There you
When
go.
I was a kid, I trapped a nerve in my back. I was a university student, so there was a lot of drinking. And I drank a whole load of red wine, and the next morning I was completely fine. I couldn't even move my arms. I was stuck like this, walking down the stairs sideways. I was completely sort of just frozen up, just fixed by wine. So off and on again.
Nice.
And we were just saying while you were switching yourself off and back on again, I didn't have a theme for today. So potentially resetting ourselves may be something to start off with. If anyone has got another little story about that or anything.
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
As far as resets, as sometimes as a career performer, I tend to think about the failures from my past. Like for some reason today, I was thinking about how I never made it into the main stage at Second City, which was kind of a big deal for performers at that place, and how I still think about that like 20 years later. And it's like that, but I forget to think about all the good stuff, all the things I've accomplished, right? And that my ability to succeed now isn't defined by what someone else said. So it's like resetting your mindset as to just because you were something that you are something different now.
Yeah. And you can, there's a lot of different methods to do that sort of stuff. And I know my wife's had it and she didn't realize it. And other people have had it where they've gone and had something occur and they've all of a sudden a thought or a memory from 20 or 30 years ago has come up while that energy is clearing. And they think, I've never thought about that in the last 20 years. But back then it was a very disturbing thing that had happened to them. Because I know with my wife, there was one particular thing, and every so often she'd bring it up, and it would make her, and you could tell in the pit of her stomach she was angry about it. But this happened a really long time ago. And then, 10 years ago, she went and had some energy clearing sort of stuff done. And she said to me after, she said that I suddenly remembered that thing. And now if I bring it up and say to her, oh, you got that cleared, she goes like, no, like it's got there's zero energy in her body. It's a memory, but it doesn't affect her in the slightest. It's got all the electrical charge. It's like that battery went flat. And the battery's still there and she can see it, but it's flat. It's got no charge. There's no There's nothing there that can do harm or trigger thoughts in her head about that anymore. It's just gone. And I've heard quite a few people through the years say things like that. And I don't know if they actually even realize it because it just goes and it's not, it's just gone. And it's like a lost penny. It's gone, not to be thought of anymore. And you might find it in 10 years' time and go, oh, that's interesting, but at some stage it had some significance prior to that. So,
Do you guys want to know something wacky about the cult of Scientology on this topic?
Sure.
All
Absolutely.
Are
right.
you a Scientologist?
I am absolutely not a Scientologist.
I
Hell
didn't
no.
think so. That'd be funny if you were, though. Where's John Travolta when you need him?
Uh, so you know they have you heard of the e-meter? This thing
Yes.
where if you go to the Scientology place, they get you to hold these metal tins and it has like a readout on it, and it's kind of like a lie detector. They that technology actually works, and they stole it and repurposed it, right? Because every cult has a value offering, right? They have something to say, hey, look, here's some evidence that our teachings are legit because just look how much success we have treating drug addicts and people who want to move their lives forward and whatever. And they basically stole a form of psychotherapy, rebranded it as auditing, and wrote down everybody's dirty laundry in a filing cabinet somewhere in case they ever needed to blackmail them. But the underlying technology works, right? And you can sometimes pick up an e-meter, they're called on eBay, but the geeky science name for it is a skin galvanometer, and it measures the electrical conductivity of your skin, right? And this gives you a real-time output of the balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So you've got like fight or flight and rest or digest. So when you have Doug, just like your wife, recalling that memory, if she recalled that, you would have seen the thing go, "Whoa," and it would show, it actually shows the charge on there. And now, if she recalled it, you just see nothing, right? So the body reacts, and it's not sweat. It's not like, oh, I'm feeling anxious, so I'm sweating, and that makes it more electrically conductive. There's something, I don't know what it is. I don't know if anybody knows what it is, but there's something which happens within the body which changes, and it changes really fast. And I know this because I have one of these machines, not a Scientology one, a non-Scientology one, and you can use it for, you can basically do psychotherapy on yourself, right? You can use it kind of like you would use a metal detector on a beach, right? You can hold the thing in your hand. I've got one that's like split, so you only need to hold it in one hand. Hey, Josh, I'm talking about my Scientology e-meter. And then you just ask
Your
yourself questions.
non-Scientology emitter.
Yeah, I think it's up in the attic. I haven't used the thing for ages, but it's a really great tool. So you just ask yourself questions and recall memories, and then you'll see the things, and you're like, oh, hello, there's some stuff to be dug into here, right? So it will help
wow.
you find those charged things in the subconscious so that you can kind of work through them. Because what you like, we're not consciously aware usually of what's kind of down there and is causing the issue. And it could be, you're always late for meetings. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, there's David. He's always going to be 5 minutes late, And then when you go, you dig down through all this stuff. And it was like, wait, my teacher yelled at me when I was at school. And it's caused me to self-sabotage and be late for meetings ever since. And I didn't realize, right? And so the skin galvanometer can actually help you find that stuff and dig it out really well. So it's, even though it's Scientology, it's actually totally legit. Um, cool
Well,
story about
well, they do
Scientology.
have science in their name. So
True.
it's the tautology that's really the problem.
Welcome,
That
Josh.
is
And that, so where you go? Okay.
that is fascinating. So it measures the amount of like emotional or like electrical energy that
It,
your
it
body's
it
releasing.
it measures, I think, just how well you conduct electricity, but something to do with the tone of your nervous system has a direct effect on that. So if you're having like an emotional thing activated in the subconscious mind, that's kind of it affects the body directly, right? Because there's some part of you that's reliving whatever traumatic event
Right.
it was, and it doesn't have to be like big trauma, you know, but it puts the
See,
body into this like prepared for trouble mode, and this thing will pick it up.
Guys, if you're on a path of developing your intuition, and I know you are, that's why you're listening here, then the Neurovisor is a tool worth checking out. It uses light and sound to guide your brain into deeper states of awareness, helping you quiet the noise, tap into your inner knowing, and strengthen your intuitive muscle. And who doesn't want that? There's no pills, no fluff, just 11 minutes a day to reset your mind and reconnect with your instincts. I've bought myself one last Christmas and I've added it to my daily practice, and the shifts are real. This is not a paid ad, but if you use the link in the show notes for more information, I do receive a small percentage of the purchase price. I highly recommend you check it out.
See, that's why I actually believe that like psychics and mediums have an ability to read that energy. That's what like the life is imprinted on us. And like our emotions and our people and our past are all kind of energetically entwined in us. And certain people have a way to like read that and intuit that. And I think that's what part of intuition is about reading the energy that the like doing that without the meter, like doing that as a personal, like being a person version of that. That's what
Well,
I'm trying
the
to do as a
meter is a
muse.
proxy, right? The meter is just
Right.
measuring the body. So that
Right.
energy affects the body, and as intuitives, we can read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Raw
trying to do is
information.
become one of those machines just like for my clients
Oh,
because that's what I do.
well,
I
me
love that.
or Josh could literally teach you to do that. You know,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm teaching myself.
yeah, right.
I'm about to release all my foundings in public domain after January, by the way.
Cool. 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 David, I've got a slight challenge for you. I'm just out of my curiosity. Have you, like, you attach it to your skin and it reads? All
You
right,
you just
we get
hold it
that.
in your
Yeah.
hand with just no. It's
Yeah.
just like the tin can thing.
Yeah. So, okay. So here, with your fellow, guys, you get together and do remote viewing. We do it with one of them or do it with anybody. I would love you to attempt to do it remotely because I believe it would work. Whereas you could sit your tin can on your desk and both of you, someone who's, 1,000 kilometers away, you're both on Zoom together. And it's like you both have the intention that the other person is holding the can and see if they get a reading from it. Just like
Yeah,
if
you
you
could
were
do
you
it.
were trying to help somebody who was in the same room with you, whether you could do it at
Mhm.
distance. I'm curious.
You can. Well, we try really hard not to do that as remote viewers because a lot of stuff is really traumatic, and we don't want to take that home from work. So you can feel other people's emotions, and your body will definitely react. I had to stop a session once. It was a medical one, and for people who don't know, remote viewing is kind of just a sciencey way to be psychic, right? But you get given no information about your target, so it can't be your imagination, it can't be your knowledge. You can't. There's nowhere to make stuff up, right? You just get given a random number, and you gotta describe it. You get nothing to go on. And this was a health thing, and I got this taste of blood in my mouth. I thought I had a nosebleed. And then, so I stopped the session because I was like, oh God, am I bleeding? What the fuck's going on? And as soon as I wrote like break on my thing, the taste went away. And I was like, oh shit, this is actually and it turned out it was somebody's pet cat that had had a tumor in its mouth or throat removed the day before. So there was still like blood in and I was tasting that. So, yeah, Hiroshima bombing, that was a fucked up experience. The Waco massacre, and you do these as training targets, right? You don't get given any information. You get given a random number, and you end up feeling some of the emotional content of that. I'm still not
Yeah, you have
quite
to be
better from that
careful.
experience. So yeah, you could definitely do it, but
Trainer.
no, I wouldn't do it unless the person's going to be really happy, really chill.
David, where did you learn remote viewing?
Well, for my first couple of years, I taught myself off stuff that's freely available online, and then I got mentoring for, I don't know, like 6 months or something. And I've had lots of friends and mentors that I've worked with over the years that have kind of filled me in on different methods, different techniques, and just a lot of practice. But anybody can do this, right? It's an accessible thing.
Hmm.
Josh even has a course online, which I'm not getting commission for recommending, but it is very good. So you can just go learn and do this in your evenings. It's pretty wild.
Cool.
Yeah, I taught a class on Monday night actually, and all three or all five students hit the target. It was amazing. I've never had a full class hit the target all at once before. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Really? Huh.
Nice.
That's
Yep. Yeah. Cool.
I'm sitting here. Everyone's just stunned. I can tell. You're all kind of looking at each other going, did we really just hear that?
Yeah, don't take our word for it because it's nuts, right? But you can just do this yourself, right? You can prove that it works.
I'm
So,
just
yourself.
I'm so sad that so many people have convinced me so much of my life that magic isn't real. And then we
Yeah, it
Right.
find
totally
out
is.
shit like it is. It is. It's all real. It's just people who
Yeah.
are too afraid to believe in things. That's the real issue is everything exists. It's just too people are too afraid to like put their heart saying like, "Oh, yeah, it's real." It's like it is. Why can't it
And
be real?
Or we get
as soon as
dissing.
you flip that switch, it starts working for you. As soon as you delete that shitty, what the stuff society's beaten into you for however many decades, once that's gone, like you realize, oh, it is all belief. So, just it's funny in remote viewing. Like I know there's all kinds of little pet beliefs in remote viewing too. Like one of them is uh, you know, time is difficult. Like it's hard to nail down timelines, but you can just use dowsing for that, and get pretty close with it most of the time. But when I learned remote viewing, I was taught, oh yeah, time is hard to do. You can't nail down time. And I don't know, David, you probably got other ones. Some of these
Oh yeah, you
pet
can't do numbers
disbeliefs.
and letters. You can't. I mean, there's some stuff that's hard,
Can't do
right?
letters and numbers. Yeah, that's
There's
the other one.
there's not an
Yeah.
exact science, but you can do it. Any of you guys here are probably able to do this for yourselves, like in 5 minutes, to a sufficiently good standard to convince yourself there's an effect. Right? You don't have to be amazing at it, but you can just try it and be like, shit, I have no way that I could have known that, but yet I did.
Yep.
I'm
Josh,
in.
Just got
where's your course, Josh?
Can
rockstarintuition.com.
you throw it in
It's
the chat?
yeah, I've just moved it over to a school website now, but the link still works for that.
How much you charging for the class?
I've got like a beginner one that's $60 and it's got a
Oh,
whole it's
hell
like
yeah.
it was a month-long thing with a bunch of targets that I ran in October. And so there's like the course and then all the targets and then I have a bunch of recorded lives that I did with various students that hopped on and
Dude,
we just kind of
I'm in.
talk about reviewing. And then there's a $200 one that's like basically everything, all my stuff all at once. So it's all on the school, and you can join the school site for free. I got actually a free course on there that you can just try. It's like an hour long one, uh,
That
for free. So
freeze screen's pretty cute. You just got this beard and like, hey, Rockstar School, your first. Hey, I hate like when you're doing a video and you don't get to pick the pause screen sometimes, and it's just
oh,
like
I
the
guess
first.
yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what that brought you to because when I log in, it brings me right to the community page.
Oh,
I was
Yeah,
watching
it's
that
fun.
Sean Ryan podcast, and he had on the guy from he's older now, the from I don't know if it was CIA or what government agency.
Like,
The guy's name is McGonigal. I'm sure you know who it is. I'm sure. So,
yeah.
when he tells the story about they gave him the target, he has no idea what he's looking at, and at the end, they open the envelope and it's Mars, 1 million BC.
Oh yeah, I've run that target. I got that as a blind target one time, actually, that exact same one. And I did get similar stuff actually. So whether I was just
Yeah,
remote
yeah.
viewing what I heard in that podcast, I don't know. That's the thing with those
Yeah.
like unattainable targets, like the ones that you
This
can't get
stuff is
real
so
feedback
dodgy.
on. Like, you never know if it's real.
It's super
So
dodgy,
Yeah.
this stuff.
I remember
there's
him saying, in fact, that he didn't want to be tested with a target that could not be independently verified because he
yeah,
just, right?
that's super important. Yeah,
Well, you can't
especially with
prove anything there, though, can you, right? You can't prove that anything's happened. You could have just made up anything,
yeah,
right?
Right.
This does work. If you have a verifiable target, you can prove for yourself that it works.
Mm.
yeah, yeah, which we do all the time.
And something you guys said earlier, like, you know, anyone here can do this. I really think, like, because for years we always thought, well, I always thought women's intuition was much stronger than men's. But the more and more I get into it, I think men's intuition was probably different to women's, and it was a lot more profound than it was. Because just go back to hunter gatherers. You're going to go out and hunt for the tribe. You want your intuition switched on pretty hard so that you're going to eat and you're going to be able to feed everybody back at the tribe. And then other stuff like that. And I just think that there's whoever, go conspiracy, the powers that be, whoever realized how powerful men were independently, and they were hard to control when their intuition was online. Um, and so through whatever sort of lies and half truths men have been told, and it's been beat out of us, and because you get your answers from within. You're not looking to these other all-knowing beings, the Pope and all sorts of other people. I'm not singling the Pope out, just those sort of people. That's where they're the only ones that know the thing. And we men, I think, lost it that way, and it was taken away, beaten out of us, whatever. And yeah, and I just think our intuition was different to women's, but it was no less powerful, if not anything more powerful, in different ways for different reasons. So
For sure. And I like remote viewing, like as a guy who's done it. I think it kind of caters to the fact that, and this is a broad generalization, but dudes tend to be a little bit more analytical and a little bit less emotional as a, population, right? At least stereotypically speaking. And for me, I know that's true for sure. And the fact that remote viewing is structured as this analytical process that follows a specific framework and all that kind of stuff, I find that for me really appealed to me when I started getting into it. And I think I was fairly successful at it because of my fairly analytical nature. But because I'm a musician too, I still have that intuitive side of me that kind of shines through. So the two of them in combination, I think, was a powerful force for me to sort of unlock this stuff for myself anyway. So when I teach, that's kind of the perspective I teach from because that's how I learned it. And it's funny, like the class I had the other night was four women and one man, and then me teaching. So it's interesting, and I think it's because uh, marketed the class. This was an in-person class as an intuition class rather than a remote viewing class. And I think just even, and this is just marketing stuff, but I think the idea of intuition is less appealing to men because maybe what you said, Doug, like we always think of intuition as like women's intuition is the first thing that comes to mind when I hear
Yeah, it
intuition.
sounds wishy-washy, doesn't it? It sounds hand-wavy and vague. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
for
we
me,
we say
getting into
woo
remote
woo.
viewing,
Yeah,
yeah.
it,
Well,
it sounds
not
very
even
woo woo.
woo-woo. It just sounds like unscientific and vague and kind
Yeah.
of, what is this? It's
That
not repeatable. We can't use it to build a car or a factory or something. Like I tried remote viewing. I expected it not to work, and then it did. But I tried it because it's an experiment, right? That you can take that scientific mindset and you can just test this thing and see that it's bullshit. And then it's like, oh, it's not. Oops.
Yeah.
right.
Same thing happened to me. Same thing happened to me. I watched a documentary about it, Third Eye Spies, it was called. A good watch. Actually, I have it linked on the school site there, on one of the posts. But yeah, if you watch that documentary, they interview all the scientists who were involved and some of the viewers who were involved, the ones that are still alive anyway. And yeah, again, they took a very scientific approach to building the process behind it. And it's yeah, after watching that documentary, I was like, all right, I got to try this and see for myself. And again, I was kind of like David, I was pretty skeptical, but I'd seen it in this documentary. So I just Googled like, okay, remote viewing courses, found one that was like $20 on sale or something, and was like, okay, I'm going for it. And I ended up doing like a sober October thing and was like, okay, I'm going to learn remote viewing while not drinking. Just crack my third eye instead of beers for the month, and it ended up working.
I love that. I
The
love
rest is
that.
history. That's what the $60 course is. It's my sort of recreation of that for my future students. It was
Dude,
a
Oh, that's
man,
cool,
psychic
man.
October, we
Real
called it.
cool.
Yeah.
that wow.
Where do you find this, Josh? I'm just looking down at my phone. Third Eye Spies. It's very interesting, but
Yeah,
it's talking
there's a
about.
version on YouTube. Um if you jump on the school site, just my website, I have it posted there and embedded, and you can watch it. It's on one of the posts there.
Okay.
Under you just search Third Eye Spies under that school site, and it
See,
should
what's
come up.
really funny is every time I get off this call, my wife goes, "What'd you guys talk about today? What'd you guys talk about today?" Because I think she's a male in a female body. I really do. Yeah, we actually have very much discussed this over the last 30 plus years of what exact domain in the the sexual connotation do we actually live in. And I probably was profoundly affected, speaking of women, by my mom, of course. You've all heard that story. You haven't, Rich, but I feel like I was closer to my mom than my dad, which made me quite successful when it came to being a friend of a girl, but they never wanted to get anything further. We've made that joke before on this call. But the reality is, I always felt like I could listen better than most guys. And so here we are. My wife is very much an intuitive herself. I think we've talked about this. You wouldn't know this, Rich, but she's a feng shui master. She has, she doesn't have a device like you're talking about, David, but she definitely has feng shui rods. So I don't know if you've ever seen feng shui rods, but she can definitely, and it works because I've watched it work. Where it's like divining rods. You're right.
Yeah. Oh,
Stephen.
dowsing rods, yeah.
And they move. Like it's
It's
fascinating to watch. Yeah, and she's measuring human energy, and I know we've covered this before, where she does she does these things in people's homes where she gets rid of the negative energy by burning salt in a cup, which is dowsing. And energy clearing. But again, it's really funny because not that we've unfriended anybody, but we've got several people that we used to hang out with a lot more that we stopped hanging out with because we would have these conversations and they would roll their eyes and go, "That's just fucked up." Really? I don't. And again, that's why I would imagine most guys are not as into this because it sounds fucked up. You're right. But obviously it's not. So that's why I'm curious. Now we're going to be checking out your website here, Josh. I don't know if I want to take the course too soon here because I'm going to a national speakers convention in Halifax and I don't want to sound like a woo-woo when I get there.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Like I've noticed there's a distinct difference amongst friends and family when I bring this stuff up. And the ones who are kind of artistic, creative types, all my musician friends, like they think it's cool as hell. And most of them are totally on board. And then the ones who are engineers and scientists and stuff, they're doing the eye roll thing. Some of them will bite, but for the most part, it's a much harder sell to the analytical types. But yeah, the artists and musicians are they're all about it.
Yeah. Alvin, you could get away with anything up on stage. And Rich, I don't know if you realize or not, Alvin's been a public speaker for the last 40 odd years. He was born with no arms. So he gets up on that stage and everybody listens. And yeah, Alvin, I think you could say nearly anything, and they
Yeah.
would just because he's had so much life experience. He drives better than just about anyone. Actually, Alvin, JD, she released the podcast I did with her a couple of days ago. Here's a funny thing. Alvin's known this 40-year-old lady since she was like a baby. And just through coincidence, a month or two ago, she interviewed me on her podcast, and then she brought up. She goes, "Doug, I was going through your old podcast, and you interviewed Alvin Law. Like I know him, like he's a family friend." Like, and it was like, wow, So yeah, and she talks about. She goes, when we used to go out on the lake, I only ever wanted Alvin to drive the boat. He's got no arms, right? So he's steering with his foot. She goes, if my dad or my uncle or anyone else was driving the boat, it was a wild ride, hated it. Alvin was driving the boat, we got a good ride, everything. I only ever wanted to get in the boat with him. He drives car. What are you, Alvin, like renting cars? You like, like super gold, platinum level, like, because he travels so much and rents cars everywhere and, gives him his credit card with his toes, grabs the keys off him with his toes, and off he goes, puts them in his bag, and off he goes. So,
I steer with my right foot on the wheel and my left foot on the gas.
Yeah,
I'm still saying someday we got to do the food truck. You and me, we'll drive around. We'll make burgers in a truck. People will eat them up. They'll love it.
You know what's really interesting, and thanks, Doug, for that. That's very complimentary. And you're right. I think what's funny too is this whole meeting that we have every week or two is fascinating because I think what's really funny is a lot of guys, and here we're now talking about men again, they're more affected by my talk. I find statistically, I can always make the women cry. But when you crack the veneer of the guys, it's fascinating to watch because I really do believe most men are really sensitive, but our culture has taught us not to be. My dad was a classic example of that. Rich, just to fill in a blank here, I was born in 1960 due to a drug called thalidomide. And that drug was a morning sickness medication. And why that's important is it became a cultural thing. So even if a person is born with a disability, it's not the same as when it was affected by that medication. So I was also homeless when I was 5 days old. Again, the guys have heard this before. But why that's important is my mom was 55 and my dad was 53 when they took me in. And my dad was the consummate man. He was 6'3", weighed 230 pounds, was an ex-professional heavyweight boxer and rugby player from England. He was a mechanic. He was a blue-collar worker. He didn't say the word F ever, but he definitely used the word hell all the time. So he was like a sailor in a mechanic's costume. And he was the ultimate man. And my two brothers, who one's 93 now, the other passed away to a stroke a couple of years ago, they didn't hate me, but they resented me a little bit because, as they said, I got dad light. My dad was forced to change the way that he saw masculinity because their third son, because they adopted me, was not masculine in the classic sense of the term. And that's what I think is so fascinating about all of this is that I became a storyteller through no real selection. I just always was able to tell stories, and making a living at it is a wonderful thing. But I find that when I get analytical, when I start doing statistic stuff, if I do on occasion, it doesn't rebound. It's like everybody's kind of going, whatever. But when I tell a story about learning to use my feet, or as Doug's saying, drive a car, or in that case, the boat, I used to be still have a boat, but I was the driver of choice for water skiing because I knew how a boat handled, because I always was aware there was a person at the other end of the boat on a rope on wooden skis that didn't need somebody to be going through the worst part of the lake. It seemed pretty commonsensical to me. But of course, everybody goes, well, yeah, but the amazing part is you use your feet. Okay, I'll acknowledge that. But the funny thing is, I never thought about it that way, right? So you talk about the ultimate in intuition. Everything just worked, and it continues to work. And I think what's fascinating, just one more point, and then I'll let you guys talk, is how I can take a moment, any given moment, no matter where I am, at a check-in to a hotel, at a drive-through restaurant in Canada, wherever I happen to be, and I'm showing my body to people and talking about it first. It's amazing to watch the transformation of people from looking at me like there's something wrong with me, especially today's generation where it's like, that is so cool. Well, I can tell you, I didn't feel cool when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, but that's how far our society has grown. And I think this topic, this kind of discussion, these sorts of events, Doug, are really how we break ground into the new understanding of what this is really all about. I would wonder sometimes, though, how many people are really capable of handling all of this shit? Because I think a lot of people, it scares them. I think the uncontrollable nature of especially men. So, anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad was like that. He was a very blue collar worker, went to the sixth grade, just very uneducated, but a very hard worker. When he was 11, his mum got hit by a car, and she was on a bicycle and killed her. And so and it happened like half a mile down the road. So the ambulance driver, before she passed away, put her in the back of the car, drove her up to the house, and called all the kids out of the front yard because it was after school to come and say goodbye to their mum. And then the ambulance driver took her away and never saw her again. Now, I never knew this till after he died that had happened. His brother shared it at his funeral. But every year, my dad used to cry. He was this tough old bastard, but my mum would say, "Oh, your father's out there. He's all melancholy again today, crying." Like it's the anniversary of his when his mother died or something like that. You think he'd be tough, and even my mother's saying, "Oh, you think he'd be tougher than that? Like, what's he on about?" We never knew the circumstances. He was so traumatized, and all his father wanted to do then, because obviously his father was in depression because his wife had just died in her 30s. And so his dad went into a downward spiral drinking, and he made my dad, when my dad was 12, he used to have to sit there and drink with his father. So he started alcohol at 12 and smoking. That was all they would do. If my dad at any time, any other day in his life went to visit his father and didn't take a couple of tall bottles of beer, my grandfather would tell my dad to piss off and get out. Like, wouldn't allow him in the house if he didn't bring beer.
Mm.
Yep. But yeah, so he would occasionally have tears, like he would let it out and cry because he'd been drinking, sort of thing. But on, anniversaries like that. And then my mother used to say, "Oh, he's a bloody wuss, like, toughen up, buttercup." So can't win. But anyway, yeah, but things are changing where men are realizing that, the hard outer shell, I think, is starting to break down on a lot of men. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, my dad
mm,
was not quite that extreme, but he was blue collar guy. Didn't he was a little more open. He's a musician, so he was a little bit more open to stuff like that. But I would find out later in life that he apparently my grandma, who was super sweet to me, was really shitty to her kids, and like he had a real hard upbringing that I don't really understand the details of, but stuff like that. So you got to really respect the previous generations. Like they probably it's been harder, and then it gets easier, hopefully, as it goes.
yeah, yeah. Each generation has advantages. I think I enjoyed growing up when there was no CCTV around, like cameras everywhere, or people with phones, because the shit we got up to.
CC, you said CCTV, right? Not
Yeah,
sissy TV.
sissy.
CCTV is what you said. Like,
Sorry.
oh, no problem.
Closed
Um,
circuit TV.
well,
Yeah.
my grandfather, both my grandfathers were in the military, and one of them joined the day the World War II ended, and the other one he was an MP, and he was a personal guard for the general who was in charge of the North African campaign for the United States. He was a very hard man for my father to deal with. My father would get beat because mother had a headache and he was being too loud. And uh, but I was going through and you know between us, I was going through my dad's stuff. He passed away in March, and we found some of his dad's things. I found what I think is tentatively called a blood medal, which was a Nazi medal that my grandfather pulled off of someone he killed, which is technically a war crime. Um, my father kept it in his drawer. Like that was the man that he was raised by, a man who killed Nazis and then came home and didn't know how to, be nice about it here. And that generation was raised by people that had to literally fight for their lives and then didn't know what to do when they came home to raise children. And my parents kind of rejected that. They let us hands off, which was also terrible. But I understood their reasoning. It's like we were not be our parents, but yeah, your parents we had to fight a fucking war. The world was at war. And then these men were like, come home and be okay. And oh, by the way, therapy, we don't have any mental health therapy. All your veterans are going to be treated like shit. And there's possibility we're going to have more conflicts and we're going to steal your children.
Yeah, imagine they came home with and they had an amputation or, half their arms blown off, and it's like, oh, we don't have any help for that. It's not much different to the mental health thing, like it's just, oh, we can patch you up, stitch you up, reset your bones, things like that, give you if your leg's amputated, we'll give you prosthetic limb or something like that for all the physical stuff that you can see, but the stuff you can't see, what's going on in the
Yeah.
consciousness and the
And
psyche
then you
of,
go home and your wife's like, man up.
yeah, yeah,
That's like how like thanks.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a few women out there that do realize what's going on. I was reading a couple of posts last night from a lady here in Australia, and it's like, oh wow, what an insight she had into what men are going through, and she was calling for, let's help these guys. And I don't know that she had answers, but she at least I was pleasantly surprised that there was a woman out there being vocal about men's issues, and we've got to recognize they need help. Yeah.
There are many, many great women.
Mm,
Sadly, a lot of men scream loud enough that you can't hear them.
true.
Men's voices tend to drown out women's.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have three. I was raised with three sisters, so I've no three sisters, no brothers. So I've always been on the. I've understood women easier. This is actually, uh, as Alvin does, I'm very thankful for this group because I've had a lot of trust issues with men. And this group has literally helped me work through a lot of that and just being more open and honest. And there are great guys in the world. It's just some you got to look to find them. But we're there, we're out there, and this has helped me get through a lot of stuff lately. So that's me thanking you, Doug, for and everybody here actually for this group.
Yeah. 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 And I wish we were all in person, but like it'd be pretty hard for me to put the word out to get a group like this together of guys that lived in within 10 miles of me. There's one guy he's four houses up, which is actually almost a mile because we're out on acreage, and he's like way above my level. But it's yeah, yeah, he's the only guy I know within any sort of
Doug,
distance. Sorry.
Doug, no man is out of your league.
Uh,
I've had
Hey, I
this
don't want to
guy
interrupt
on.
the flow, but sorry, I gotta head out. But it was really nice meeting all you guys. Seth, good to see you, and I'll
No
see you at the
worries.
next one. Thanks for having me.
Nice to
Thanks,
meet you,
Yeah.
Rich.
Rich.
Thanks.
Catch ya. Yeah.
On that note, before Reach just left, but on the note of what you just said, that was very thoughtful of you, Stephen, to mention that. Why can't we meet guys like this closer to home? That's my question. My best friends in the world, I don't have one that lives in the city here. Okay. The closest one would be a 4-hour drive away in a place called Edmonton. He's a childhood best friend, one of those, what do they call them on social media? Other people that I love, they just seem to be not anywhere near me. And I'm wondering why that is.
Yeah.
Anybody? I don't think there's an answer. It's just interesting, isn't it?
It is. And yeah, I mean, well, you guys, I've never met any of you in person, which, like I'm
Yeah.
not bummed about, but I would love to meet you in person. And some of you know Phil, who's on the call sometimes. He's in Sydney. Like he's one of the close. Actually, there's one other guy, Andrew, comes on occasionally, and he and I used to work together 20 plus years ago, and he lives about a 90-minute drive away. We see each other probably face to face once a year. But yeah, it'd be great to yeah, somehow or other. But yeah, we just need to get more technology going. David, you and Josh, you can remote view like how to get new technology, like to get a beam me up Scotty machine, and we all just sort of like beam in and beam out, But practice it up. Like I love animals, but practice it with a couple of like not pretty animals or something like that in the beginning, and get it perfected. And then we'll all just beam up and beam back. That'd be cool.
I got a rat that's on its last legs, and here we can he can be a test subject.
The lab rat, yeah.
We
How
got
many of you, now that we're opening up
first?
Yeah, that's true. Curiosity, this is a weird question, maybe. How many of you have partners, if they're female, I guess is a more important part of this equation, that are on the same side as you? I'm guessing yes. Yes?
What do you mean by same side?
Your wives or partners, are they on your side in terms of this woo-woo discussion stuff?
Oh, yeah.
My wife says she is constantly holding on to my coattails, trying to keep up. Yeah,
That's a good one.
she's not against it, but she's like, whoa, because I'm the one seeking out stuff constantly, and
Kind of where I'm at too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
My wife's super intuitive, but um,
Was that how
she,
you met
she's
through
coming
this
around.
connection?
No, no, we met in university. Um, and it was also just one of those kind of intuitive things where as soon as you meet the person, you know something's up.
Oh
I've had
yeah.
that same thing. I've had that same experience with a lot of folks, like fellow musicians who I end up being with a band or in a band with later. Always happens too. I met my former horn player. He now runs a music school in town where I did my remote viewing class actually the other day. I met him. He was working at a juice bar, and it was one of those moments where you meet somebody and it's like, hey, I feel like I know you from somewhere else, but you don't yet. And same with every other member of my current band. When I met them, it was that same kind of perceptual experience when we did meet, which I always find interesting. And now when I meet new people and have that experience, I'm like, okay, this person's going to be around for a while in some capacity or another. It's weird, but again, just following that intuition, right?
So is it because I've read like there's times when I'm kind of in the mood or in the energy to meet someone new, and there's times when I'm not. And I feel like now that I'm looking back at like anytime I had an intuitive connection, it's more like I had to be open at that time,
Hmm.
almost. Because I feel like I close, LA is a big, bustling,
Yeah.
like don't look at each other kind of city. And it's a lot of negative energy. It's a lot of like kind of moving my energy through other people's. And so I'm learning to do that now. But like when I was just kind of intuitively like just being myself before, it was always like I'm open and happy. And then suddenly something would be there. Like suddenly you are there, but like the person you hadn't seen, you're in like, I've never noticed that you look like, I never noticed this about you, but this is because I was open at that moment. And I feel like that's the key is like trying to be more open when you're around the people around you, I guess. It's like trying to
Yeah, I
find
think
like,
there's something to that, to the idea of when you like so here's an example. So when I was in high school, I was like really wanted a girlfriend, but because I wanted it so bad, it was just like this elusive thing, right? And as soon as I stopped giving a shit and was like, whatever, I'm gonna learn guitar and play in a band and do all that, that's when it started happening.
right.
Like as soon as you let go, it's all about remote viewing. This is like this too. It's like when you let go of the need to be right about something, or I don't know, we call it the no fucks given principle, or I do. David's probably heard me say this before too, but as soon as you stop giving a fuck, the world is yours. Like it just get rid of those that it's a Buddhism thing too, I think, right? Like
Yeah.
the getting rid of desire and all that. Like
Yeah, but the Buddhists don't do getting rid of desire in order to get stuff.
no,
That's
no, and
it.
I'm not saying it's in order to get stuff either, but that's just what seems to work is when you stop worrying too much about things and just let it's getting into a flow state, right?
Right.
But with your own kind of emotional energy and
Yeah,
and
you're
being
hanging on to the idea of not having the thing, right? If you're really strongly making yourself someone who really wants to get X, you're implicit in that is the fact you don't have it. You're
going,
embodying, I haven't got this.
Yeah. Your energy is going into this into the necessity, like the scarcity.
Mm.
Yeah.
yep, yep, it's all mindset.
Oh man, I had something. Man, it's so close. We're so close to figuring it out.
Do you guys think too that that's part of what this is going to sound like a weird thing to bring up now? We're almost done our call here, but do you think that's why
Alvin,
there's so
stop.
many second marriages?
Sorry, what was the question? Is anyone on their
There's so
second
many
marriage?
second marriages, which I am one of, by the way. And I mean, I've never regretted having a second marriage more than anything else in my entire being, which of course is a reflection of the first time round, which was a total flop. But it's amazing to me. Okay, I'll use my son as a better example. He's single at 40 years old. He has no intention of ever partnering up with anybody. That may change. I don't know. All I know is his thinking is he doesn't need anybody around to fulfill his life, which is fine. A lot of people are. But I'm curious about the second marriage thing, because we go into the first marriage. Many of us are young and we are doing it in an immature way. Is it just immaturity, or is it this other thing that we talk about every time we have one of these get-togethers, is we start to grow? My wife's ex was not a bad man, but he was in going backwards mode as opposed to going forward mode as a human being. And that's what drew her away from him, and it's what drew her into my life for some strange reason. Like we joke about before, gentlemen, I'm sure it wasn't the biceps. So it had to be something else that was appealing. And that is that mojo, right? That vibe that you can give off. And yeah, Josh, I agree with you. I never would have thought of calling it that, the I give a fuck attitude. Yeah. I mean, really, that's exactly what it was. And when I met Darlene, my biggest priority was my 5-year-old. So I wasn't up there pooling around looking for chicks. I was too busy raising a child. So when that comes up, you're definitely in I don't give a fuck mode, right? And as my wife said, your being a single dad was incredibly attractive. That sounded funny, but I can see why.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, and I mean, there's kind of we go a few different directions with this, right? Like there's the idea that you meet the people you're meant to meet when you're meant to meet them. If you subscribe to the fate model of things, which I kind of do. The older I get, the more I realize how weirdly synchronistic certain things are, and certain times that I met people, and being in the right place at the right time for certain things to coalesce and all that. But yeah,
Puppy.
but I think to sort of optimize your experience of fate, let's say, it's important to be in that receptive state, to again flow state. Like the more you flow, the more open your intuition is, the more you're kind of able to sit in that flow and weave through life in a way that's going to kind of work out the best possible for you. I think that's kind of my operating theory right now on how all this works.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Me
it's
and my
interesting.
wife try and get in flow together. Like we're both very much understanding of like the energy stuff, and we realize like that's our best moments are when we're kind of bouncing our energy off each other,
Mm,
and it just yeah, I love it.
yeah,
It's so
yeah.
fun.
With us, it's like when we're traveling, we're always in a good state when we're traveling, because when you're traveling, everything is novel and interesting, and you're often in a state of locomotion. Say if you're on a road trip or a plane or a cruise or whatever, right? Like it's we're walking around a new city, exploring things, right?
Everything you just said was positive. So many
Yeah,
people, travel, it's all a hassle, it's all lines, it's all waiting. But everything you just mentioned was it's adventure, it's emotion, it's locomotion. That's a
and
positive
it's funny
mindset.
because I used to focus on all those negative things, and I still get stressed out about travel to an extent for those reasons, but it's not nearly as much of a problem as it was for me historically. Like I used to be an absolutely awful traveler, and again, since kind of opening up the third eye or whatever, it I've just loved traveling.
Oh. Well, speaking of that,
All that has been
can I
fun.
can I steal a few minutes just for a question?
Go.
Um, I just bought my first tickets to Europe. I'm taking my dad's ashes to Ireland in April. Do you have any advice for the Emerald Isle? Has anybody been there? Does anybody know anything about it?
Take time to do Dublin as much as you can,
That's where we're starting and ending. That's
and
where the tour starts and ends.
Go to the Guinness tour, which is absolutely amazing. My wife, this is a funny story. I'll real quick, Stephen, because I know it was a question. I don't want to dominate the
Oh,
answer
that's
here,
fine.
but I was over there working. Actually, I was speaking in a church in a little town called Drogheda, which is about 30 minutes north of Dublin, and I was doing a thing for a charity. Brought over actually to London to speak at a conference, but I went and ended up in Dublin. And the good news was we had a guy that I knew earlier in my life who lived in Dublin, so he knew the corners and all the stuff to go to. So we made sure we went to that famous library and church which is something apparently you got to go see. I can't even remember the name of it now, but that's a famous Dublin thing. That's more historical, instructional. So he said, as we were talking about all day today, guys, the relationship between you and your partner in life, especially if they're a female. So that we did exactly that. Okay, the male of us will go with the female to the historical museum that is providing that we can compromise and get to go on the Guinness tour. Well, she rolled her eyes and went, why would I want to go see a beer plant? Well, you know what? It's not a beer plant. It is the most amazing historical perspective on how Guinness changed the entire world of blue collar workers. It is real. Even the mini series on Netflix is such a stupid series, but it was a good little show to kind of show you the historical perspective of Guinness. But here's what you got to plan. Plan to finish the tour around late afternoon in April. Yeah, you'd be probably 6-ish, 6:30-ish. The top floor, I think 7 stories, is an all glass building. You have a 360-degree view of Dublin from the 7th floor of the Guinness plant, and no bad seats. They give you a free pint of Guinness, but the reason you time it this way, which is what our guy told us, is you get to be up there when the lights of Dublin appear, and you see that color. There's apparently nothing quite like the color of Dublin at dusk. And you just start to realize what a remarkable city it is. And then pick your choice, man. There are so many cool pubs. They're just pub after pub after pub after pub. There's pubs that there's like 3 tables in.
I hear it's like Nashville,
just
where there's just live music out of every building.
everywhere. And so you got to pick. So that's why you got to give yourself a cushion to be able to just do Dublin for at least 2 days. But again, I'm sure you'll have lots of advice from others. I never got far in Ireland, but talk about getting a reality check of what makes this planet special. Ireland is high up on the top 5 list for me. Absolutely.
Thank you. Sorry for taking it.
No, and you're going there for kind of a somber reason, but in fact, you're going there for the opposite reason. You're going there to put your dad where he can live the Irish fantasy for the rest of eternity.
I was raised on Irish folk music. He had a bunch of Tom Clancy and the Macon brothers, and we we saw all the Dubliners together. Like I've loved that
Bring your
culture.
tissues, brother. Bring your tissues. There's going to be lots of that too. It's very emotional. So that's my 2 bits. Anybody else have
Thank you.
Dublin advice?
No, that's fine. Thank you for letting me take that.
No, that's a good question. Actually, here as we maybe wrap this up, here's the thought to go away with. Josh, you nailed it, man. There is no question in our 2025 AI increasing universe that people need to, especially young people, need to experience what life is there, not here on the internet. When you go to these places, I've heard that's what a lot of people's lives have changed by going to Asia, going to Vietnam, going to Cambodia, going to all these places, and how it's changed people because you're there, and you have to acknowledge you're there. One of the jokes that we always used to use was a Canadian comedian named Mike McDonald used to have a joke about living in LA, and people would say, "Where are you from?" And they go, "Canada," he'd say. And they go, "Oh, I love Canada. I love going there. I love visiting there. They got the same TV. They got the same food. They got the same stuff. That's what I love in a foreign country." So you want to go where you're not in a foreign, not home, baby. You're out there where they are. And the more you land in their space and become part of that, that's what Americans, pardon me, Americans are not that far away from really learning this, to get away from that American thing that everybody says about American tourists. Here's a simple idea. Stop acting American. Just be curious. Be humble. Say, thank you for having me in your country. What can you teach me? And all of a sudden, you'll have new best friends, and they'll forget that you're American, because Americans really aren't that bad. Some of them just act that way.
Oh,
I think I heard Donald Trump say those exact words earlier this month.
Guys, before we go, I've just realised I'm not sure when the next call is going to be, because I've got to do it tough. I'm going to Fiji for a week from the 13th to the 20th, and that's probably about the time when the next. You poking needles in the little doll.
Why
No,
Fiji?
you're muted.
I
What's
was
in
playing my
Fiji?
tiny violin there for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought you had a little Ouija doll with the needles poking in. It's all right. Yeah, so I'll work the call around my vacation.
What's
So
in
Oh, it's
Fiji?
what's in Fiji? We're
Aside
going
from
to
beauty,
well, we used to own a scuba resort in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that had like top 5% scuba diving in the world. And so but I've never been to Fiji, and they have awesome diving as well. So we're going to a dive resort. We're not just going to a tourist resort. We're going to like a specific. And I'm not that I want to do a lot of scuba diving, but I'll do some. I want to go somewhere where snorkeling is good and it's not just water. Because yeah, I've done that much snorkeling and stuff that it's got to be good. So we're just heading. It's a 3 hour drive from the airport, sort of like out of the tourist zone. So, yeah, something to do, relax on the beach with a book and just chill.
Doug, I've been looking at dive watches, and it's just kind of an obsession. Do you have a favorite dive watch or a little collection? Anything you could throw out?
Mate, we used to be oceanic dealers. Apart from that, that's how simply because we were a dealer and dive
Uh-huh.
equipment's ridiculously expensive, and I was buying it at
Yeah.
half price. I only use their stuff. But now I've been out of it. That's 7 years ago. So technology's changed that much. I wouldn't know now. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no worries.
well, may I regale you folks with one story before we sign off, Doug?
Do it.
This is a very much your story. And again, I know Alvin's got too many stories, but I was speaking in Cairns many, many years ago. In fact, my son was on that trip. He was being a difficult preteen around then. But we went to Cairns, and because we were in Cairns, we went on the tour to go to the reef, the Great Barrier Reef, of course. And while we were there, it was a relatively expensive trip, but it was worth it. They gave free dive lessons to anybody who wanted to try. My son tried. They went down. He went down on that platform with the equipment on. He ended up kind of freaking out, so that was no problem. There was time to go snorkeling, but the waters were pretty rough that day. And I had practiced snorkel, got to be not bad at it in the Caribbean, but this is not the Caribbean, is it, Doug? So you're out there in the middle of freaking nowhere. I had no idea that the
Yes,
Great
you're
Barrier Reef,
60 miles offshore.
it's like a 2 hour boat ride just
Jesus.
to get there, right? So you're driving. And how do they know where it is? That's what I couldn't believe, because the ocean didn't look any different, but the boat stopped and went, okay, we're here. Really? And I'm trying to figure out what's down there. Anyway, my wife is a very strong snorkeler. She went off with the bunch. I stayed on the boat because it was just too scary. I wasn't going to go up there and try it on my own. And then this happened. And this goes to show you the gift that is so much given to yours truly. My wife comes over to me and she says, I have a gift for you. What kind of gift? I didn't see a gift store on the boat. She says, come here. Went over and we met the captain and we met the dive master, and they were putting clothes on, and they said, we're going to take you snorkeling. So they put a suit on me. They put a life jacket on me. They got me geared up with some really good snorkel gear, not the dive stuff. And off we went into the ocean. And the dive master was behind me, kind of following me up with a rope. The captain was in front of me. He was pulling on another end of the rope, and they took me on a 20-minute private tour of the Great Barrier Reef. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if I saw anything that really kind of made me go, wow, I want to come back here. But what an incredible experience to get to see what's down there, and to see that this was just, and you can tell everybody on the boat would have normally been pissed, right? Like, what are we doing here? Why are they giving this guy? Oh, right. He's got no fucking arms. I guess we'll just lighten up. And off we went. And it was the most incredible experience. But here's the story. It's not an Alvin story. It's the story of a captain and dive master who said, we want to give this young man from Canada a true gift of our time and our knowledge. And I think that's what most people really need to acknowledge, that we've all got. What are we giving? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Because not having arms like that, getting in there, I was thinking, because I've had customers in their mid 80s come out to where we were and want to go snorkeling. And I'm like, and the husband's like, oh, I snorkeled when I was 30. I know what I'm doing. And like it was like, and I've got his 85-year-old wife, and I'm practicing in the pool, and she can't even get the snorkel in the mouth to hold it. Like she literally can't open her mouth. It took me half an hour. I had to get a mirror so she could see what was going. And I'm thinking, fuck, I've got to take these people in the middle of the Pacific Ocean like tomorrow. Like I can't even get her to snorkel in the pool where it's waist deep. And it was like, mate, I had three of us out there with holding on to. She had to hold onto a boogie board, and it was just like we were literally three of us holding her, like, and then we got him, and we were doing. Oh, it was, and we're in 30 feet of water because you got to, the boat's on a mooring out there, off there, so and then you've got to go in shallower and then come back out, and like, oh, fuck, yeah, yeah. At least you were young, weren't,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Could put a snorkel in your mouth. I could put a mask on, but yeah.
Well, and you know what? I wasn't even scared, but I definitely that was something my wife done. She normally wouldn't do that, and not asking for special treatment, just going over there. I think what happened is the captain went over to her and said, "Is your husband okay?" Because he didn't go out snorkeling with you, and she's like, "Yeah, he's fine. He can snorkel in calm Caribbean waters." Which I can. Actually, I'm very good at it. I figured out, now that we're talking about this, I learned the magic to snorkeling is not to snorkel without a vest, an inflatable vest. So because I learned without one, and one time I got a little scared because I lost my equilibrium and I started to take in water, but there was a guy with me and he helped me get up out of the under the water. But putting that inflatable dive vest on makes every difference. But that's calm water, relatively speaking, and I can't do the dive down without with the vest on. So I'm a peaceful water snorkeler. But yeah, that was quite an experience. And again, I don't know if the Great Barrier Reef is the best in the world, but it sure was an impressive sight that day.
Yeah. And one of my sons worked up there for a year or two, and he said like the boat was insured for anything up to 30 or 35 knot winds. So if it was 34 knot winds, they were going out because there was 200 people on the boat, like it was a big money deal. But he said, Dad, we would get out because where we were, I'd be real fussy to get a real calm spot out of the wind, because sort of try and hug into the island somewhere out of the wind, have it nice and calm. And he goes, Dad, we're out there in 6-8 foot chop, like just chop, white caps everywhere. Give everybody a pool noodle, like all these Japanese who've never snorkeled before, and they're just flying around everywhere. And he goes, he would have to stand up on the boat. They had an inflatable, and he would be up there ready, and he'd see someone in trouble, and he would just have to dive into the inflatable and zoom over there and drag them in. And he'd have to prioritize. There'd be 4 of them all freaked out, and he'd have to work out which one to drag in first, which one second, get them into the boat, and zoom them back to the big boat, and get back up on the deck again, watch. Oh, there's another one, dive back down. Yeah, so it's when you said going out there, I'm like, yeah, it's if you're diving, you get 2 meters under the water and it's serene. Yeah, and you look up and you can see the chop, and you're like, you're in heaven down there, and then you think, I don't want to go back up, but yeah, just floating around. It's not what you're picturing in the Caribbean. Yeah.
When we were living,
well, have a good time, Doug. I gotta go, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for this. Thank
All
you,
right,
everybody.
guys.
If we don't talk to you before then, I like to say this, whether you practice or not, Merry Christmas from Canada.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, I'll try and get another call before Christmas, but if not, we'll see you shortly after.
Okay.
All right.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, gentlemen.
Well, we're at the end of another thought-provoking episode. Remember to subscribe so you'll be alerted to new episodes. I want to say thank you to the men who are joining me on this journey of intuitive development. I truly hope our time together has expanded your reality and reinforced trust in your ever-reliable gut feeling. Embrace your intuition. It will not lead you astray. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and trust your gut.